Coming up, a special legislative session on flood relief begins tomorrow.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Districts hit hard by flooding are worried about what the school year will look like. This as lawmakers head to Frankfort focused on promises to help school systems starting late. Grayson Passmore has more.
As families across Eastern Kentucky continue to recover, the start of school may be bringing more questions than answers.
I mean, those that aren't in their homes yet, they're struggling for heated meals. I like the idea of getting them back in.
While some suggested moving the start date to after Labor Day, the majority voted to continue at the August 29th start, just adding 12 minutes to each school day.
Between COVID and flooding, it's really, we've taken a beating.
As school districts work to get students back, Governor Andy Beshear signs off on a special session to work on a relief package for flood victims.
This will be to create a safe fund similar to the one in Western Kentucky that can help our Eastern Kentucky communities, and also some legislation to help our school systems, especially those that are going to have to start a little bit late.
Beshear says he's reached an agreement with legislative leaders, calling his, quote, productive conversations not bipartisan but nonpartisan. Senate President Robert Stivers says, quote, we have cast politics aside and will address the immediate needs of those who have endured so much.
And ensure our counties and cities don't go bankrupt and that our utilities don't have to raise rates on families already hurting, just to repair and replace necessary infrastructure.
Grayson Passmore, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, the Senate will gavel in tomorrow at 3 p.m. Two school districts in our region won't return until the middle of next month because of last month's flooding. Knott and Letcher County schools are being pushed back the furthest. Today, one Knott County student spoke with state education leaders about the impact the flood has had on him and his community.
You lost a couple things, or some friends of mine lost everything. There's a lot of what ifs, and we're kind of just waiting to see how the future pans out with that.
The start back date for Knott County right now is September 19th. At last check, there is still not a definitive date set for Letcher County schools. As help from the Commonwealth continues to pour into Eastern Kentucky, the federal government is still helping victims. FEMA is set to give out more than $45 million in aid to flood victims. So far, more than 5,700 applications have been approved. Governor Beshear says FEMA has also approved more than 2,000 applications that were initially denied. The Kentucky State Fair is also helping flood victims. FEMA is setting up a booth there for the remaining days of the fair. Agents will be on hand to answer questions and help people apply for disaster relief. They'll be there now through the 28th. And FEMA is looking for property owners who want to help with housing. The agency needs applicants for its direct lease program. The program places flood victims in ready-to-go houses and apartments. The federal government covers the rent and residents cover utilities and other costs. FEMA is specifically looking for property owners in or near Breathitt, Knott, Letcher, and Perry counties. President Biden could announce some help for federal student loans as early as tomorrow. The Biden administration is set to forgive up to $10,000 in federal student loans. That will help borrowers who earn less than $125,000 a year. The president is also expected to extend a pandemic pause on payments to January. The pause was set to expire at the end of the month.
Well, continuing to watch rather peaceful conditions as we run through the rest of the nighttime hours here and really into tomorrow as well. View outside from our camera along Interstate 75 out toward Mount Vernon. Starting to see a little bit of that haze and fog work in, but that's really about it at this hour. We'll continue to see things calming as we head into the overnight. Highs today got up into the low to mid 80s around the region. Not pictured here. Irvine at one point got up to 85, as did Manchester, but 84 in Somerset, London, 82 Jackson were the big numbers around the region. 84 over in Jonesville and in Middlesboro as well. Outside right now, middle and upper, or really mostly middle and upper 60s. Few 70 stragglers right now in Moorhead and in Jackson. Visibility right now 10 miles, perfect. But that's not taking into account maybe some of those river valleys. So again, some of that fog possible overnight. Keep an eye on that if you have to be outside. Satellite and radar has been a clean sweep all day. And as we head through tonight, it should continue to be a clean sweep, except for some of the ground clutter. Patchy fog outside tonight, low to mid-60s for overnight lows. The details on when we could see a return to the heat of summer coming up in just a little bit.
Evan, thank you. Some in the Millstone community of Letcher County say fixing flood damage is just too much to bear. However, one family have called the 2 houses on their strip of land in Millstone home for decades and say they are not backing down from the fight. Dean and Melissa McBee have gutted their home and plan to repair it, while Dean's sister Gina Tyree is knocking her home down and building from scratch. The trio says this is their home and they're staying.
It's slow, not fast.
Yes.
So that's the reason why we love Eastern Kentucky.
We have family here, but around us, we got neighbors that is like family.
Yeah.
To help each other.
Dean was approved for FEMA funding, but fears it will not be enough. Several local leaders met at the Hazard-Perry County Chamber of Commerce meeting this morning to provide a flooding update. Hazard Mayor Happy Mobilini thanked county and city workers for their countless hours of repairing water lines and roads. He also took a moment to thank volunteers who have helped all across the city and county. He says every area could use more people like that.
If you're one sitting home complaining because you don't have water, then think about these people who've lost everything, lost their family members, don't know where they're going to have their next, where they're going to live. You know, I'd say they'll change places with you if all you don't have is water.
The mayor says if you would like to volunteer, the city could still use them at the old JCPenney building here in Hazard, a major distribution center. A group of flood victims is now suing, alleging negligence by an area mining company. Kelsey Soto spent the day in the Lost Creek community of Breathitt County, where families are banding together. That's after they say silt ponds failed, broke free, and destroyed their homes.
I don't want to see this happen again anywhere else. If it's preventable, this should not happen.
Chase Hayes has lived in the River Caney area for the last decade. He's a father, a husband, and a son, but now he wants to protect his community, who has lost nearly everything.
Without accountability for what occurred, we'll never get anywhere.
With the help of attorney Ned Pillersdorf, he and nearly 60 of his neighbors have filed a lawsuit in Breathitt Circuit Court against Blackhawk Mining and its subsidiary Pine Branch Mining, claiming the company's poor construction and improperly maintained silt ponds caused excessive water to flow through their properties, sending him scrambling for the hills and having to be airlifted by the Air National Guard. And while the community still searches for 2 women missing in Breathitt County, this blasting notice was slapped on the front of Chase Hayes' front door. He tells me coal is in his blood and he understands its significance to the region. His great-grandfather died in a deep mine. His grandfather died from black lung.
I'm not an anti-coal guy. I was raised by coal. I worked on coal trucks as a little boy. But I feel like this is irresponsibility.
The lawsuit claims the company did not follow state regulations of reclamation, which made the flooding significantly worse, and calls the company's negligence a ticking time bomb ready to explode with any type of significant rainfall. This family returned home to find fish swimming under their residence. For Hayes, you can't put a price on peace of mind, which was washed away on July 28th.
We were trapped in here and couldn't get out, and we were all just angry and frustrated. And felt like we'd had something taken away from us that shouldn't have been.
Kelsey Soto, WYMT Mountain News.
A statement we received this afternoon from Blackhawk Mining says in part, quote, "Our people were deeply impacted by the flooding, including loss of loved ones, homes, and belongings. We have been supporting the community with relief efforts from the beginning, and our sympathies are with those affected. The flood was a natural disaster without precedent. We do not agree with claims made by the lawyer representing the plaintiffs and will respond accordingly at the appropriate time." In Pulaski County, state police are investigating the theft of thousands of dollars from the sheriff's office evidence room. The sheriff says during a transition of evidence officers, 4 people had access to the room, and during that time, $25,000 went missing. State police investigators are now looking into who is responsible. The sheriff's office says new security measures have been put into place to try and stop anything similar from happening again. Well, immediately following July's flood, looting became an issue for the Perry County Sheriff's Office, but Sheriff Joe Engel says things are finally slowing down. While looting is not an official charge, Sheriff Engel says numerous people received theft-related or wanton endangerment charges in the 2 weeks following the flood. After the Sheriff's Office publicized these cases, the looting declined.
And it got the word out pretty good, and when people seen that we were putting people in jail for this pretty good, and that our prosecutors and everyone was on board, no leniency on these charges, we seen those cases drop.
Sheriff Engel says although the looting is not as widespread, keeping your valuables in a safe and secure place and having friends or neighbors watch your property while you're away is always a good idea. Leaders from Team Kentucky stepped up to the challenge today, helping families tie up some last-minute back-to-school needs. A shoe giveaway brought out coaches from the University of Kentucky, joining Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman and Senior Advisor Rocky Adkins in a partnership with Samaritan's Feet, as 2,500 pairs of shoes were up for grabs for families in need following the recent flooding that hit the region. From washing feet to chatting with families, Coleman says it's the fellowship of serving that really shows what Team Kentucky is all about.
To show these kids and these families that this is what leadership is truly about. So often that's so lost on us in the adult world. We forget that that's the purpose of leadership, is to serve. And what we did today was a perfect living example of that.
Samaritan's Feet dedicated 10,000 pairs of shoes to families in the region, with volunteers saying they wanted to help the students kick off the school year with a little something special. They visited Jenny-Wally and Buckhorn Lake State Resort parks. The Rockfort Regular Baptist Church in Floyd County is hosting 2 volunteer organizations. Samaritan's Purse Disaster Relief and the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team is set up in the parking lot of the church as a kind of headquarters. Both organizations are calling for more volunteers to come out and help folks throughout the region. But if you are not able to come out and work, Pastor Willie Crace says there are always other ways you can help.
Keep us in your prayers. If you can't help, you can't volunteer, pray for us, because people here need it, and we want to be able to be here for them, and prayers do wonders.
Samaritan's Purse Program Manager Matt Campbell says his organization has welcomed more than 800 volunteers from across the nation during the past 3 weeks. You can find out how to volunteer on our website. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, nearly a month removed from the historic flooding, Knott County is still in desperate need of assistance.
Plus, as you'd expect in the waning days of August, things are getting toasty yet again. The full breakdown on warmer temperatures and if storms could return as well. Coming right up.